You are a human being, and like every human being, you need good food to survive, a decent place to live, the newest phone so you don't feel behind. And if we're honest, basically everything your neighbor already has. That's not greed. That's just human nature. Our wants are unlimited. But there's a glitch built into this entire universe. A problem no app, no AI, no technology will ever fully solve. There simply isn't enough stuff to go around. Not enough houses, not enough oil, not enough hours in the day, and definitely not unlimited money for anyone. Economists have a name for this harsh reality: scarcity. If the world had infinite pizza, infinite Wi-Fi, and infinite zeros in every bank account, economics wouldn't need to exist. We'd all be sleeping just fine. But because everything is limited, we're stuck doing the hardest thing there is: choosing. Economics isn't really the study of money. It's the study of how people make decisions when they can't have it all. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly how scarcity, money, banks, inflation, taxes, wages, and the stock market secretly run your entire life, and why your paycheck somehow buys less every single year, even when the number on it keeps going up. Meet Sam. Sam is 22, a senior in college, and tonight he only has 3 free hours before bed. He's got 2 options: watch the season finale with his roommates, or study for tomorrow's final exam. If he picks the finale, he's not just losing 3 hours, he's giving up the grade he could have earned instead. Economists call that trade-off an opportunity cost. We think price is only measured in dollars. It's not. The real cost of anything you choose is the next best thing you gave up to get it. Right now, you're watching this video instead of scrolling something else. That's your opportunity cost. Every second, you're paying a price. Hope this video's worth it. So if everyone's time and money is limited, how does an entire economy even function? That's where trade comes in. Watch this. Sam is incredible at video editing. The problem is, he can't pay next month's rent. Across town is Maya. Maya's 28, works a corporate marketing job, and runs a small YouTube channel on the side. Maya has money. What she doesn't have is time to edit videos after an 8-hour workday. When these two meet, something clicks. Sam edits Maya's videos. Maya pays Sam. Both of them get exactly what they needed. Everybody wins. But here's the deeper question: why does trade even make sense? That answer hides inside one of the most underrated ideas in economics: comparative advantage. Say Maya is actually a faster editor than Sam, twice as fast. So should Maya just edit her own videos? No, because Maya's real moneymaker is her actual job, and every hour she spends editing is an hour she's not doing the work that pays her real salary. So even though Sam is only average at editing, Maya still outsources it to him. Trade isn't about who's the best at everything. It's about who can do a job at the lowest opportunity cost. No matter how average you feel at something, somebody out there needs exactly what you can offer because it saves them time they can't get back. Congratulations, you are economically useful. Now take scarcity, trade, opportunity cost, and comparative advantage, throw them in a blender, and hit go. You just built a market. A market isn't a building. It's an invisible system where buyers and sellers meet, and it runs on one single rule: incentives. Humans respond to incentives. If a plain cup of coffee cost $50, you'd never buy it. If it cost 50 cents, you'd buy 5. Low prices pull buyers in. High prices pull sellers in. Let's see this play out with something every American driver feels in their gut: gas. Demand is how much gas the whole country wants to buy at a given price. Supply is how much every refinery and producer is willing to sell. Where the buyer's budget and the seller's profit meet, you get what's called the equilibrium price, the magic number where everyone's happy. Then a conflict overseas disrupts oil shipments. Supply crashes almost overnight. But Sam still needs to drive to work tomorrow. His demand hasn't moved an inch. When supply dries up and demand stays desperate, price shoots up like a rocket. What was $3 a gallon becomes $4.50 more. People get furious. News anchors argue about it for weeks. But that higher price is actually a signal. Every producer watching sees the profit and starts pumping more. Eventually, supply catches back up and prices drift back down. Adam Smith called this self-correcting system the invisible hand, all the way back in 1776. No president, no CEO has to run it. It's just math, desire, and desperation quietly balancing itself. When a government forces prices down artificially, this invisible hand doesn't disappear. It just goes underground into a black market instead. Now imagine Sam needs gas, but all he has to offer is an old laptop. The gas station doesn't want a laptop. It wants cash for its own bills. This is exactly the mess that humans invented their greatest tool to solve: money. Money has no value on its own. It never has. Throughout history, it's been shells, cattle, gold coins, paper bills, and now, mostly, numbers on a phone screen. All of it runs on exactly one thing: trust. If the US government announced tomorrow that the dollar in your wallet was worthless, it would instantly become a piece of paper. Money is belief, not substance. It's also a way to store value, so you can work today and spend that effort tomorrow instead. And to control this whole system, we built banks. Most people think a bank is basically a locker room. You drop your money off. It sits there safe. You pick it back up later. That is the biggest myth in personal finance. Banks take your deposit and lend that exact same money to someone else who wants a car or a house, and they charge that person heavy interest for the privilege. When Sam takes out a $10,000 auto loan, the bank manager isn't pulling cash out of a vault. He's typing a number into a computer and hitting send. New money is created the second someone takes out a loan. This is called fractional reserve banking, and banks never actually hold as much cash as they've lent out. The whole system works perfectly, right up until everyone shows up on the same day demanding their money back at once. That's called a bank run, and it can collapse a bank within hours. That's exactly why deposit insurance exists, so people don't panic, and the whole machine keeps running. So how do we measure this entire, sprawling economy? How much is America actually producing, and where does it stand next to the rest of the world? Economists built a scoreboard for that. It's called GDP. GDP is the total market value of every final good and service produced inside a country's borders in 1 year. You can calculate it 3 ways: by production, by income, or the most common one, by expenditure. Consumption, plus investment, plus government spending, plus net exports. The United States has the largest GDP on the planet, and most of that comes down to productivity. A farmer using modern equipment produces vastly more than one working by hand. Higher productivity means a richer country, at least on paper. But there's a massive blind spot baked into this scoreboard, and almost nobody talks about it. Meet Danielle. Danielle is a stay-at-home parent. She's up at 6, and she doesn't really stop until 11 at night. She's the family's private chef, her kids' tutor, the household nurse when anyone's sick, and the one managing every bill. If you hired professionals to do all 4 of those jobs, you'd be paying thousands of dollars a month. But because Danielle doesn't get a paycheck for any of it, GDP counts her labor as exactly 0. Meanwhile, if Sam grabs fast food for $40, GDP goes up by $40 instantly. If a factory dumps pollution into a river to save money, its profit boosts GDP. The disease that pollution causes down the line never gets subtracted. GDP is a thermometer. It tells you there's a fever. It never tells you what's actually making the economy sick. You probably think your money is just sitting safe in your savings account, sleeping soundly while it earns interest. It's not. There's a silent thief pulling dollars out of your pocket every single day. It's called inflation. Say Sam deposits $100 and the bank offers a nice 10% interest rate. A year later, he checks his balance, $110. Sam feels rich. But last year, Sam's favorite burrito cost exactly $10. In that same year, prices across the country rose 12%, so that same burrito now costs $11.20. Technically, Sam has more dollars. Actually, Sam is poorer. He can't even afford the same lunch he used to. This is the raise illusion, and it's exactly why the middle class can work harder every year and still never feel like they're getting ahead. Where does inflation actually come from? Remember the gas station story. When a central bank, in America, that's the Federal Reserve, prints and pushes too much new money into the economy, everyone suddenly has more cash. But the actual amount of stuff for sale hasn't changed. More money chasing the same amount of goods. Prices rise. That's inflation in one sentence. Let it spiral completely out of control and you get hyperinflation, like Zimbabwe once saw, where a stack of currency wasn't enough to buy a loaf of bread. This is exactly why the Fed constantly adjusts interest rates. Raise rates. Borrowing gets expensive. People spend less, inflation cools. Cut rates, borrowing gets cheap, and growth speeds back up. But where does the government get money for highways, hospitals, and the military? Governments don't run a lemonade stand. That money comes from exactly one place: your paycheck. Welcome to taxes, a bill you're legally required to pay, whether you like the total or not. America mainly runs on two tax systems. The first is direct tax, like federal income tax. It's progressive, meaning the more you earn, the higher percentage you owe. The second, and much sneakier one, is indirect tax. Things like sales tax. Sales tax can be regressive. If a billionaire buys a $50 grocery run and a minimum wage worker buys the exact same $50 of groceries, they pay the exact same tax. But as a share of what they actually earn, the minimum wage worker just carried a far heavier burden. When the government spends more than it collects on programs, subsidies, or infrastructure, that gap is called a fiscal deficit. To cover it, the government borrows, mostly by selling treasury bonds. Decades of that borrowing pile up into what's called the national debt. Spend that borrowed money on productive things like roads, bridges, or research, and the economy tends to grow into it. Spend it purely to win votes with short-term giveaways, and you risk the kind of inflation spiral that's crushed economies like Argentina in the past. No country can build everything it needs alone. America is a world leader in software, tech, and financial services. It's far weaker in things like advanced semiconductors and raw crude oil. So the US exports software and services and imports oil and electronics from countries that do it better or cheaper. That's international trade, and it runs on the exact same comparative advantage logic as Sam and Maya's deal. Free trade is the reason a powerful smartphone costs a few $100s instead of a few thousand. That's globalization. It has a dark side too. When cheaper foreign goods flood in, local factories can shut down and workers lose jobs. To protect domestic industries, governments sometimes slap heavy taxes on imported goods. Those are called tariffs or protectionism. They can shield local jobs, but they usually make everyday goods more expensive for regular people. Trade between countries needs one more thing to actually work: a way to convert currencies. That's the foreign exchange market, the largest financial market on Earth. The exchange rate just tells you what one currency is worth compared to another. Say $1 equals 90 Japanese yen. A few months later, $1 equals 95 yen. The dollar just got stronger. Economists call that appreciation. A stronger dollar is great news if you're an American traveling abroad or buying imported goods. It's bad news for American exporters because their products suddenly cost foreign buyers more. Currency value moves with interest rates, inflation, and global confidence in the country issuing it. You now understand the entire machine underneath the economy. Time to zoom into your own life. You graduate. You start job hunting. You sit through interviews. That's called the labor market. Except here, the product being sold isn't a thing. It's your time and your skills. Companies buy that, and what they pay you for it is called a wage. Now here's the uncomfortable question. Sam works 10 hours a day and earns $50,000 a year. His company's CEO mostly sits in meetings and earns hundreds of times more. Is the CEO working hundreds of times harder? Obviously not. Economists call this the wage gap. Under this system, your salary isn't decided by how hard you work. It's decided by how easy you are to replace. The data entry or basic coding Sam does today, a new graduate could learn in a few weeks. That's a huge supply of available labor. CEOs capable of running billion-dollar companies are genuinely rare. Low supply, high demand. That gap shows up directly in the paycheck. There was a time when workers formed unions specifically to balance that power and negotiate better pay together. Decades of outsourcing, weaker labor laws, and now automation have chipped away at that leverage. Push the minimum wage up too aggressively without anything else changing, and some companies will simply replace that role with a self-checkout kiosk or an AI tool instead. Treating human labor as a replaceable commodity is one of the harshest truths baked into this entire system. So you've worked hard and earned a paycheck. What now? Stuffing it under a mattress is one of the worst moves you can make because inflation will quietly eat it alive. What you actually want is money that makes you more money. Welcome to finance. Financial markets exist to connect people who have extra cash with people who need cash to grow something. Buy a stock, and you're literally buying a small slice of ownership in that company. If the company profits, your slice becomes more valuable. About 90% of people who trade stocks lose money, usually chasing hype and hot tips online. The minority who actually build wealth are the ones hunting for solid companies that are simply underpriced right now. Bonds are the boring, safer cousin. You lend money to a company or the government for a fixed period, and they pay you fixed interest in return. Derivatives, futures, and options were originally built to help farmers and businesses manage risk. Today, for a lot of traders, they've basically become a casino, just bets stacked on bets. Then there's crypto, a decentralized system built on blockchain that no government controls. To some, it's the future of money. To plenty of economists, it's a volatile, speculative gamble. The single biggest rule in finance is the risk-return trade-off. Wherever the potential reward is bigger, the potential to lose it all is bigger too. That's exactly why smart investors never put all their eggs in one basket. They diversify. Now for the deepest, and honestly the most painful chapter in economics. If markets give everyone a shot, why are some people wildly rich while others stay stuck for life? Textbooks love to say, build more factories, open up free markets, and poverty disappears. Reality doesn't cooperate that easily. The real battlefield is the human brain. That's where behavioral economics comes in. Classic economics assumes people are rational, that they'll always make the mathematically smart choice. Decades of real-world research on poverty has proven that assumption badly wrong. We assume poor people stay poor because they don't work hard enough or don't save. Field research tells a different story. When someone is living in scarcity, what they're missing isn't just resources, it's hope. That kind of chronic stress changes how a brain makes decisions at a biological level. Hand someone in that situation $500, and a textbook says invest it for a return in 5 years. In real life, that money often goes toward one good meal tonight, or a TV bought on a payment plan. Why? Because when your life feels dark and exhausting enough, your brain needs relief today. It can't hold out for an imaginary profit tomorrow while real hunger sits right in front of it. That cycle is called the poverty trap. Think rich people are somehow different? We're all irrational in our own ways. We fall for hyperbolic discounting. $5,000 today feels more exciting than $50,000 a year from now, even when the math says wait. We fall for loss aversion. Losing $500 stings way more than the joy of finding $500. Big tech and retail companies design their apps specifically around these biases to get you spending more than you planned. Economics was never really about numbers. It's psychology wearing a numbers costume. So what system holds this entire machine together? The world today runs on roughly 3 economic models. Capitalism, where land, factories, and capital sit in private hands, and the whole engine runs on profit. It's the best system humanity has found for innovation and new technology. Its downside? It tends to build monopolies and widen the gap between rich and poor. Socialism or communism, where the government controls most of the economy and there's little to no private property. The goal is equality. On paper, it sounds great. In practice, once the personal incentive to profit disappears, people tend to stop pushing as hard, which is part of why systems built entirely on this model have historically struggled. Then there's the mixed economy, which is where America and most of the modern world actually lives. Massive private corporations compete and innovate freely, while the government simultaneously runs programs like Social Security, Medicare, and public infrastructure to catch people the market leaves behind. It's a constant balancing act between the two forces. So what did you actually walk away with in the last 18 minutes? You saw that scarcity is a universal, permanent reality, that every single choice you make carries a hidden price. That trade makes both sides better off. That money is just an illusion kept alive by collective trust. That banks quite literally create money out of thin air. That inflation is silently draining your wealth right now, and that GDP is a report card that has never once accounted for a parent's sacrifice. You saw that the wage gap isn't about effort, it's about how replaceable you are, and that the poverty trap can quietly keep a person circling in place for an entire lifetime. Every single system here comes with trade-offs. There is no perfect answer. But the person who never learns these rules stays stuck running the same circle, year after year, wondering why the number on their paycheck keeps climbing while their life somehow doesn't feel any easier. If this finally made the hidden machine behind your everyday money make sense, hit like and subscribe, because next up, we're breaking down exactly how the stock market really works and how to actually spot a good investment before everyone else does. See you in the next one.